Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kay and this is All Things Kay, and I want to thank you so much for joining me on another video. So guys, I am finally coming around and doing my top fall palettes, and I've seen this going around for weeks now. And listen, I know I'm late, but I wanted to share the palettes that I have been using over the last few weeks since the fall season came in, and the palettes that I usually pull for during this time. So if you're interested in seeing my top, I think it's 12 palettes that I am rotating through, that are my top fall picks that, you know, I've been enjoying, stay tuned and keep watching. All right, so when I think of fall, I think of shades that include the warm neutrals, the orangey browns, the reddy browns. I also think of the deep grungy greens, some navies thrown in there, and I also think of the color story of the plums. I love a plummy, sultry look. I feel that with spring and summer eyeshadow palettes, they're more fun and flirty and bright, where I feel for fall, they're more sultry and sexy and smoky. Y'all feel me on that, or is that just me? Anyways, so keep that in mind when you see my palette collection. I do have a top 10, I think it is, fall eyeshadow palettes that I done, I think, over a year ago now, and I will link that up here in the iCards if you guys want to check that out. There is one palette, however, which I've seen in probably everybody's fall palette picks, that I have to keep mentioning because, listen, it is one of the #1 fall palettes, and I have to agree and I have to include it. And I did. This is the only palette that is the same as my last year's top fall palette picks, and that is the Natasha Denona. This is the Metropolis palette. This palette has all of the tones that I just discussed with you guys, except for probably the plummy colors, because when you look at this color story, you have your grungy greens, you have your warm orangey neutrals, you have everything that says fall, and this formula is amazing. I definitely pull for this palette during the fall season because it just screams fall to me. I don't think I've ever looked at this palette in the spring and summer. I don't even touch this palette because there's nothing about it to me that says spring and summer. But in the fall, when I want to have those sultry, seductive, grungy looks, this palette right here is your girl. Like, she is here to play. Oh, and the coppers. I love the warm neutrals with a coppery, bronzy shade on the lid. This palette is just fabulous. Let me swatch some of these shades for you, like the warm orange, the coppers, the greens. This just says fall to me. I mean, I am just ready to play with this palette for this season because these shades are everything. Now moving on, the next palette that I want to talk about is the Wilderness palette by Beauty Bay. This palette I recently picked up this year, and this palette definitely has the grungy greens and the warm neutrals, the orangey browns down here, and then it goes into this red theme, which I also, it just reminds me of the leaves changing on the tree during the fall time. You start with the dark green leaves, then they get a little bit, you know, yellow, orange into the red, then they go brown, and then they fall off and the trees are all naked, and then it snows. I'm just saying, this palette reminds me of that, and I feel like this palette is versatile for both seasons, because I feel like up here with the light turquoisey blues and stuff is more like spring and summer, and then it transitions into fall. So I had to mention this one because it does have that color scheme in it. I love, when I tell you I love the shimmers in this palette, the shimmers in this palette are beautiful. Look at that. Look how beautiful those are. And I really enjoyed using this palette when I did my, look at that. Oh, you guys, when I did my 3 looks 1 palette, yo, I enjoyed using this palette. I will link that video up here so you guys can check it out if you haven't. but I had to include the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette because I've been using it and I've been loving it, and trust and believe, it's definitely coming in handy in the fall season. Another palette that I have been really wanting to play with this season and that I think is a perfect fall palette is the Juvia's Place The Rebel Army palette. This is a quad, but look at those greens. Those greens are like, hello, the fall season is here, put me on your eyes. That's what that's saying to me. And I just love the tones of these greens. And I just feel like these are just perfect for the fall season. And Juvia's Place has some really, really good quality palettes. Let me just swatch the last green there. Look at that. That's just a simple, quick eye look that's perfect for the season. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to use this palette. I'm definitely going to do a look with this and put it up on my Instagram. So make sure you're following me over there on Instagram, because it's the season to use this palette for sure. Sticking on the grungy green tones, I had to mention this palette. This palette is a newer palette to my collection, and you will be seeing a video on this shortly, but this is the Glamlite Dirty Martini palette. Come on now. Look at that. Look at these grungy tone greens. Even this light one up here is on the grungier side. I love everything about this palette. I love how it goes from, you know, lighter shades to deeper shades. I love Glamlite. Listen, y'all know that I'm here for the shimmers. So, you know, that's what I'm going to swatch the most of. I love Glamlite shimmers. They are fabulous. Just look. This is what I love. I love shimmers. I mean, mattes are necessary. I'll swatch a matte for you. I'll swatch one of the grungy green mattes for you. Look at that though. But come on, this palette right here is definitely going to be used during the fall season. Another grungy green palette is the Huda Beauty Khaki Haze palette. This palette here has both grungy greens and the warm neutrals along here, which I think scream fall. A lot of people don't really like this palette. I actually got along really well with this palette formula. I get along pretty well with the Huda Beauty formula. I'll swatch mostly the mattes in this one because I'm, you know, biased to shimmers. So these are those warm neutrals that I really like, and then let me swatch that grungy green matte in the middle there, which is at the top. And then they have these beautiful grungy green shimmers. Look at that. I really, really like this palette. I mean, this to me comes out every fall. Now this palette is another palette that is new to my collection, and it is total fall vibes, and that is the Odins Eyetimes Judy, the Red Dragon palette. Look at this. Tell me that this does not scream fall. You got your grungy greens, you got your warm tone neutrals, and this may or may not be the palette that's on my eyes right now that's giving you this fire of a fall look. I mean, this palette right here is gorgeous. And where do I start? Where do I start to swatch? I mean, okay, let's start with the mattes because everybody loves a matte. Look at this warm, beautiful matte called Yin. That's this shade right here. It's beautiful. And then we have this grungy green at the top called Claw. It is like a brownie green, like a beautiful, oh, look at that. That's this shade here. And then of course, the stars. This is Luna, which is a duochrome shimmer. Look at the shimmer. Y'all, don't speak to me. I mean, this palette, y'all are gonna see a look. You're gonna see this look coming to your screen using this palette, because this palette is fall all the time. I mean, get into it. If you have this palette, you know what I'm talking about. This is a fabulous fall season palette. And in that same collection, the Odins Eyetimes Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner Giant Wolves palette is a fall theme palette. This has your grungy greens and then it starts to bring in the plums. You guys know I love plums and berries and deep purples for fall, and I love grungy greens. And this palette is fall. These colors right here, I mean, look. Tell me that those just don't scream fall to you. I mean, this, oh. You guys, I can't. I could just swatch Odin's Eyes formula forever. Like, it is such a beautiful formula. It is, and you know me. And these shimmers, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Ever since Kara from Beauty and the Frizz says shimmers, I can't stop seeing shimmers. You look at the shimmers. I mean, baby. Yes, definitely one of my fall picks. Love it, love it, love it. And you guys, again, will see videos coming on this palette, so stay tuned. The next palette I have to shout out is the On the Horizon palette by Sydney Grace and Temptalia. I picked this up earlier this year. This color scheme right here screams fall. You have your grungy greens, you have the deep browns, you have the coppers and the plums, and let me tell you, these shimmers are ridiculous. They're a little bit chunkier of a shimmer formula, but they go on the eye so smooth. And I have a look up with this palette, but look, stop, just stop. I could, trust me, oh, let me do this shade here. Look at this cranberry metallic shimmer. It's just perfect, sultry, seductive. It just screams fall to me. The On the Horizon palette, it's definitely a fall pick. This next palette is a palette that I bring out during the season. It is more on the plummy, burgundy, cranberry side, and it's a bougie ass palette. So this is my Tom Ford Eye Quad in the shade Honeymoon. This right here, I don't bring this out any other time except for now and the holiday season, because these shades, it just makes me feel so pretty, so seductive, so Tom Ford did his thing with this formula. I mean, he did. He definitely did his thing. This is like one of his most popular quads. It's more of a subtle, sophisticated, grungy, plummy vibe, which I think it's so perfect for this time of year. Think about wearing this to a, you know, a fancy restaurant where you have reservations, when your husband or your boyfriend, and you got this on your eyes, you got a fabulous perfume on, maybe a Chanel, and it's just fall. This quad right here does it for me. For a more reasonable plummy berry option for fall, Juvia's Place Berry palette. This palette right here gives me my cranberry, my plum. It just gives me that vibe. I mean, I love this. When I wear this palette, I get a sexy, seductive look all the time. I love these shades on my skin tone. I love Juvia's Place formula, and this for sure. This color right here, oh, stop it. And then this deep berry right here, oh, y'all, this is definitely a beautiful palette. Look at that. This on the lids, You got your plums, you got your berries, you got your cranberries. I mean, the Juvia's Place Berry palette is fabulous. It's a fabulous monochromatic color scheme that gives you some beautiful fall looks. So you know I couldn't do this video without having a Mothership up in this joint. And I think everybody and their mama picked this choice, but I have to pick it because it screams fall, and that's Mothership 6 Midnight Sun. Enough said. Okay, you got your grungy greens here, you got your warm neutrals, you got the coppers. I love this for the fall season. Look at that. That's a look right there. Two shadows, boom, you're done. You know, you're ready. You have fall on your eyes. Look at that. Just those two shades. You got your warm neutrals, a little bit of copper. Come on, like, watch this green. This grungy green right here. It's fall in the palette. And out of all her Motherships, I think this is the most fall appropriate and something that I draw for at this time of year. So, you know, I had to include it. Midnight Sun, Mothership 6. Beautiful, beautiful palette for the fall season. Last but not least, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Eye Palette, Smoky Eyes Are Forever. This is definitely a fall themed palette. Everything I've been talking about this video, your warm neutrals, your grungy greens, this girl has it right here. It is beautiful. I do have a holiday makeup look wearing this palette. I'll link it up here if you guys want to check that out, but it is beautiful. And I've been playing. You can do some quick, easy, beautiful looks, like just use the trios and you're done. I mean, it has your coppers, it has the warm neutral. Again, some of the shimmers are more subtle and some of them are popping. Like this shade right here is popping, where the other ones are a little bit more subtle. Like this shade here in the Happy Eye Quad is, oh, it's more of a subtle sheen to there, where the Love Eye has this like beautiful popping shade that I love, because you know me, you know me and my shimmers. Come on. Charlotte Tilbury did that with this palette. This is my first bigger palette, holiday palette from Charlotte Tilbury, and I am in love with it. Y'all need it. If you guys didn't pick it up, y'all need it, because this palette right here, it's beautiful. This can transition from fall into holiday real quick. So yeah, I love it, love it, love it. And that's everything. So if you like this type of video, don't forget to thumbs up my video. Subscribe to my channel, especially if you want to see some of these makeup looks that I will be doing using some of these palettes. And hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a video. And until next time, bye guys.